Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Sundays, Giant Formula. The fact that Sundays managed to deliver two of the best albums of their respective years with their debut Wiaka in 2019 and the follow-up Inner Coast in 2021, it still blows my mind a bit to this day. Lush and ethereal indie folk with irrepressible melodic hooks and a thematic complexity that deserves a lot of credit. First by tackling the clingy, toxic positivity when one is using a relationship to overlook one's deeper issues, and then flipping the script on how art can be used for that same sort of deflection. And that had me wondering where their next project was going to go beyond deepening some rock impulses and continuing to work with the producer Asger Tekau, especially as they set up such a high bar for themselves with their first two, and thus it kind of frustrates me when after a lot of repeated listens, I am just not as impressed with Giant Formula. And what's exasperating is that, pardon the pun, the formula is still intact. Sonically, this project is not far removed at all from Sunday's first two albums. It's still impeccably balanced acoustics with underrated bass lines, still crisp sandy percussion, still touches of gauzy synth and the occasional bit of horns, still Magnus Jacobsson's striking, willowy falsetto alongside some excellent harmonies. The formula's all there. Yeah, there are old guitarists left, but he still played a lot on the album too. And yet for all of this, the melodies don't quite have that consistent vibrancy, despite the production being glossier and bolder than ever. Wasteland has a great hook with some nice horn accents around the smolder. The solo erupts well in the back half of Lost in Babylon. I like the groove interplay on the opening title track with some really great vocal harmonies. And the build-up on the closing track after the spare acoustics, it feels earned. The album at least starts and ends very well. But maybe it's the sense of momentum being a little shakier this time. Maybe it's the acoustic pickup on cuts like Savory Sundays and especially Forever Too Late feeling a little too tinny and sharp on the ears. Or maybe it's just the same issue I had with Temples' third album when the sound and formula is still solid, but you might be hitting diminishing returns. Now granted, I also think some of this falls on the writing and themes, and I'll say it's probably bad timing on my part to highlight how this is my second review in a row discussing a folk-leaning project grappling with new parenthood, familial trauma, and existentialism. Now, to Sunday's credit, I think this is considerably better than that new How to Dress Well project, if only because the poetry feels more focused and robust, helped along by Jacobsson's framing being a lot tighter in describing the messy emotionality of the relationships on display. The instability of describing being inside one's love like a wasteland, it's got tangible layers in both instability and the potential that's on display, as do the frustrations of miscommunication on Lost in Babylon. There's a deeper yearning to this project and being tied to one's own rocky emotions and finding comfort in just not knowing all the answers amidst time that doesn't get bogged down in a lot of academia. There is an emotional intelligence here that I really appreciate, even if there is still more whinging projection on partners than there should be, even though with Sundays, that's kind of part of the territory at this point. But I think my larger issue is that compared to the last two albums, it's just nowhere near as tightly focused in that theme. And yeah, that's to be expected. New parenthood and existentialism don't exactly make for self-contained narratives, but when you also remove some of those sharper crescendos and the tighter melodic hooks, and without the sharper wit to deconstruct the more, let's say, mundane observations, the sprawl of the project begins to feel just a little bit less compelling. Now again, I have to stress, this is not a bad album at all. Sunday's Giant Formula has great moments, and if you're simply taken in by the sound and not going to do a lot of lyrical analysis, it's a very enjoyable listen. And yet for me, it does feel like their weakest project to date. It is still very good. If you like this brand of willowy indie folk, and you're looking for something a little bit more atmospheric or high concept, you'll probably like this more than I do. It'll certainly satisfy. But at this point, I don't know. That Giant Formula might need a slight shakeup. All I'm saying. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, and subscribe. Yeah, this one was kind of an unfortunate surprise. I'm not going to say I'm fully disappointed. I am a little bit, but again, this is the sort of project that it was almost going to be too good to be true to go 3 for 3. I think this is still good, just not the tier of Inner Coast or Wiaka. It happens. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if you all want to get albums on my schedule going forward, or yell at me on my Discord, or hell, just support the channel, link to my Patreon is right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times, I understand, the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.